Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Akbar Pambudi. I come from Seman 1 Batujajar. In this time, I would like to tell you about the history of Cianjur. Once upon a time, in West Java, there was a rich man who lived in the village. People always call him as Mr. Stingy. The origin he got called as Mr. Stingy because he is known as the most stingy person in the village. Mr. Stingy has a son, not like his father. His son known as a generous person. Mr. Stingy has many farmland. The workers in this farmland most came from many people in the village. There was Thanksgiving party. Thanksgiving party implemented in order to obtain better harvest. With compulsion in his heart, Mr. Stingy would have a Thanksgiving party. Mr. Stingy invited all people to come in his party. After that, people received the invitation. Then, people had arrived in Thanksgiving party. But when in the party, they started to feel disappointed because the food wasn't enough for all people in the party and the food wasn't able to eat. After that, suddenly, there was an old woman came to Mr. Stingy's house. The old woman said, "Sir, please give me an alms. I didn't eat for 2 days. Even though it's little, I would glad to accept it." After heard that word, Mr. Stingy answered to her, "What? No way! I had worked so hard, then you. What did you do? Did you just wait people to give something to you? It's really disgusting. Go away from here." After that, the old woman lived with a sadness. She couldn't spoke anything. After the old woman left, there was a boy who followed her. The boy is Mr. Stingy's son. He brought something for the old woman. "Ma'am, here's the food for you. Maybe it's little, but please accept it," said Mr. Stingy's son. The old woman accepted with a pleasure. After that, the boy was trying to beg. Meanwhile, the old woman went to the hills. The old woman had arrived at the hills. At the top of the hills, she said, "Mr. Stingy, when I saw someone who's just like you, I really feel disappointed. Sooner or later, karma would come to you." After that, the old woman who brought the stick, she tried to embed the stick on the ground and it was made a hole. Miraculously, there was a lot of water came out from under the ground. Afterward, the water was made a big flood. The flood had come to the settlement. Mr. Stingy's son, who still at outside, he tried to say something for all people. "Let's hurry up! You have to leave from the settlement, then go to the hills. Don't think about our properties right now because the most important thing is our life are safe. Please accept my suggestion." Then people accept the suggestion. Mr. Stingy was still in the settlement. He didn't want to let all his property. And he didn't care about this word that his son said. Finally, the flood had come to be bigger. In the end, Mr. Stingy's son couldn't save his father. All people had arrived at the hills. After the accident, people started to make a new settlement with a new leader. They were very obey to the regulation and respect their leader. With all these things happen, Ci mean water refer to land with a lot of water, and Anjur mean people who always obey the regulation. At that time, Cianjur, the place we know right now, was born. That is all what I could deliver on my story. Sorry for the mistake. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.